What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Fantasy Alarm TV. I'm your host, Howard Bender. Welcome to 3-Point Play, where we go one-on-one Fantasy Alarm analysts, mano-a-mano, to debate some of the hot-button topics around sports, both fantasy and reality. Today, I'm joined by my man, Steve Pimentel. You can find him on the old Twitter machine at Steve's Fantasy AD. He also heads up our WNBA coverage over at Fantasy Alarm. He works on MLB, NFL, NBA. He's the jack of all trades there. Steve, what's going on, man? How are you?
Howard, I'm doing great. Enjoying this time of year. In years past, it's kind of been slower, but between all the NBA news and WNBA and MLB, it's a fun time.
Excellent. Now, the last time that we did a 3-Point Play, I beat your ass pretty badly here. Are you gonna step it up a little bit here more?
Well, I tried to take it easy on you, especially on the WNBA argument, because I know that's not your strong suit. But the gloves are coming off today, so you better watch out.
All right. Well, I'm ready for you. If you're ready for me, let's do it. And you know what? Let's go to your home turf, and let's start. For those, by the way, who just joined us, 3-Point Play, 3 debate topics. You need to make 3 valid, separate, distinct points to support your side of the argument. And then once we each go, then we get to tear each other down a little bit there. So let's go into Steve's neck of the woods here. Let's start it off with the WNBA. Steve, there are 2 players who are coming back right now from injuries who are probably going to make an impact both in fantasy and reality here. I'm talking about Candace Parker and Diana Taurasi. All right, so both of them are coming back here. Which one do you think is making the bigger impact?
For me, it's Diana Taurasi, and the first reason why is her team finished 5th in the WNBA last season, and now they're in danger of missing the playoffs. They're currently behind the Fever and the Liberty in the standings, and without her, this is a team that is pretty much lost, and the Sparks are treading water without Candace Parker, but the Mercury aren't without Diana Taurasi. And to that point, the second reason she's the most important is because Phoenix had an 8.6 net rating when Diana Taurasi was on the court last season, and a negative 14.0 net rating when she was off the court. So to put that into context, the Storm had the best net rating in the league last year at 9.2, and the Fever had the worst at negative 11.7. So they're basically the best team in the league when Taurasi plays, and they're worse than the worst team in the league when she doesn't play. And her impact as far as net rating is a lot greater than Candace Parker's as well. And then my third point is Taurasi's return is really important because she brings out the best in Brittany Griner. Griner is averaging a career-high 35.3 minutes per game this season, but her points and rebounds are her lowest since 2016, and her field goal percentage is a career-worst 49.5, down from her average of 55.8. So for whatever reason, Taurasi just seems to be the Brittany Griner whisperer, and last season, when the two of them were on the court together, Mercury had a 9.0 net rating. This season, Griner's net rating is negative 1.7. So Taurasi, her return is good for the team, but specifically, one of their best players in Griner.
Listen, I give it to you that Taurasi's a great player, and I definitely think that the Mercury will improve. The impact, though, definitely comes from Candace Parker joining the LA Sparks. She's been out 3 to 5 weeks now with the hamstring issue. First of all, did you know that Candace Parker has the highest IQ of any player in the WNBA?
I did not know that.
Well, there you go, my friend. Let me tell you something, because now what you're getting back is a highly intelligent leader for this team in dire need of leadership. And she's a huge playmaker. I mean, this team with their free-flowing style and Derek Fisher, with everybody gets a chance to play, you're solidifying Candace Parker right here on this team. And immediately she's going to be able to help make plays help on the board. She's going to be able to direct traffic. She's going to be able to control what's happening for the Sparks. Point number 2, her return means it's back to the bench for Sydney Weiss. Or Wise, whatever we want to call Weiss, Wise, Weiss. Either way, guess what? Her defense stinks. And she's heading back to the bench. So there you go. That's another. She's also limited offensively. She can shoot from the perimeter, but she can't drive the lane. Not even close. So for me, Weiss, whatever her name is, going back to the bench, it's going to improve the Sparks on defense, and it's going to help open up things on the offense a little bit more because you don't have a girl who's just sitting there who can only shoot from the perimeter. Number 3, takes the pressure off of Chelsea Gray, who's been trying to do everything by herself on offense. Gray's been phenomenal. She's been absolutely money in the bank through these first 7 games for the Sparks. But the bottom line is that she can't do it all on her own. You bring in Candace Parker, and now all of a sudden, guess what? Now the defenses have to watch Parker. They have to key in on her as well. That's going to open things up more for Chelsea Gray. So to me, I mean, you're improving on defense. You're getting more mass improvement on the rebounds, on the boards, and you're going to open up things more for Chelsea Gray. Man, I tell you, man, Candace Parker, impact with the LA Sparks. Once she's back in there, I'm going to start betting on that team a whole lot more.
That might be risky because you have a little bit of diminishing returns because, as you mentioned, that team's already, or I mentioned, one of us mentioned, that team's already pretty decent. You've got 3 All-Stars already on that team, and adding a 4th, especially Parker won't get to, she's more a natural 4 than a 3, but she's going to have to play the 3 when the Agumake sisters are both on the floor. So she's not at her most natural position. And, just look at the Philadelphia 76ers this year with 4 All-Stars. When one of them was out, they were just as good, if not even slightly better, because the ball was shared more. Everyone was in their natural position. They weren't getting in each other's way quite enough. When she tries to drive to the basket, there are going to be 2 post players in the paint occupying that space, whereas Phoenix just with Taurasi returning, everything fits where it should be, and I think that's part of the reason that Griner does better when Taurasi's on there, because you have better floor spacing, you have another creator, but you don't have too many. It's not like you have 4 All-Stars who are all getting in the way.
So you're going with the too many Chiefs, not enough Indians kind of a mentality. Did you see the Sparks in their last game? Did you watch them against Washington? They looked atrocious, dude. They looked lost. They were like ducklings, like little ducklings who can't find their mama. Guess what? Candace Parker, their mama is here.
She's played back in that game. She played 24 minutes.
She was still limited there. She was so limited there. She wasn't ready for that yet. Now that she's back, now that she's going to be off the restrictions, she's good to go. I love it. Taurasi, Parker, you guys out there, you tell us. At Steve's Fantasy AD, I'm at RotoBuzzGuy. Hit us up at Fantasy Alarm as well. If you guys are fans of the WNBA, you tell us who you think is right here. Is Parker or Taurasi the bigger impact coming back? We're going to stick with basketball. We're going to switch over to the men's in honor of the NBA draft, which is Thursday night, and that's taking place as you and I are recording here right now. The Grizzlies and the Jazz made a little bit of a deal here. It was a very interesting deal. Mike Conley goes to Utah in exchange for crap, garbage, dog poo, and I think a draft pick sometime in the 22nd century there. But for whatever reason, side
you're taking, Howard.
I'm taking that the Jazz win this one. Absolutely do they win this trade. Listen, Jazz have one of the most threatening backcourts in the NBA right now with Conley and Donovan Mitchell. I mean, both these guys are absolutely fantastic. They're great shooters. They're explosive. This is going to be a rock-solid backcourt. And it's probably going to be one of the best in the NBA, to be perfectly honest. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, huge upgrade in scoring, because opposing teams won't have to focus so heavily on Donovan Mitchell. It's just like the Chelsea Gray, Candace Parker argument here. Like all of a sudden you've got Conley here, and everybody's going to start, backing off of Garden Mitchell as heavily as they've been doing, or they were doing it this past season. So That's a huge upgrade in scoring right there. Number 3 fills a massive need that they were going to have trouble filling. They definitely were going to have trouble filling this guard position, and they weren't even going to be able. They weren't going to do it in the draft. And so now it's a question of, do they end up having to like hit that free agent market? No, now they don't. Now they got the playmaking guard that they need to make this happen. So there you go. Threatening backcourt, huge upgrade in scoring, fills an incredible need right before the NBA draft. Utah, feeling breezy, feeling good.
Howard, I won't argue that the Jazz didn't get a player that they needed, but kind of like LA trading for Anthony Davis, they gave up way too much to get him. And first of all, Memphis got 2 first-round draft picks, including one that, you poo-poo the fact it might be in 2022, but that might be the double draft when they finally let high school players and one-and-dones could potentially both be in that draft. So that could be an incredibly valuable draft pick in addition to the one that they got this season. And that's all for a guy who's going to be 32 years old at the start of the season and has never made an all-star game. And when you compare that to other recent one-year rentals, I mean, it's way more than what the Raptors gave up for Kawhi. It's a lot more than what Philadelphia gave up for Jimmy Butler. And even the Thunder, what they traded away for Paul George, none of those none of those guys fetched 2 first-round draft picks. And my second point, Memphis probably isn't done because they're almost certainly going to turn around and trade Jay Crowder and Kyle Korver for more draft assets. And everyone's looking for wings who can shoot and defend. Crowder alone can probably get a late first-round pick or 2 second-round picks, and you're probably going to get a second-round pick for Kyle Korver. So it's not just those 2 picks. You're also going to turn around and probably get some more. And then the third part of the trade is Memphis also got Grayson Allen, and Allen wasn't great as a rookie. He also battled some injuries, but he's a 21st draft pick in what was a strong draft last season. And he has size and shooting ability to at least be a solid wing off the bench. And he's a perfect fit spotting up on the three-point line while John Morant and Jaren Jackson run the pick and roll. So, the Memphis got an awful lot in this trade. And even though they gave up a good player, they won this trade for sure.
You're definitely more bullish on Crowder and Korver for me. But, you talk about, possibly flipping these guys around even more. Second-round picks. I mean, how many NBA-ready second-round picks are there that we're really, looking at making an impact here? I just don't think that – I mean, if they flip Crowder, all right, or they flip Korver around, for what? I mean, for a second-round draft pick, maybe it's another guy – who can come off of the bench, another dude who's just going to sit and hang out in the G League the entire time. I don't know, man. I'm not as bullish on these guys, and I definitely hate the second round or any of the subsequent rounds in the NBA draft. Look at this year's draft right now. You got 3 top guys there. You got about a small handful of some also-rans who might be able to round out spots 4 through 10. And then after that, I mean, roll the dice, dude. Roll the dice at the back end of the first round. Think about it. Think about that for the second round. I mean, how much worse is that going to get?
Well, you make a great point about rolling the dice. This is a rebuilding team. I mean, that's why they were able to give up Mike Conley, because they're a young team that's rebuilding. So give yourself multiple shots to hit a home run, and it's cheap labor. I mean, you're getting guys. Seriously, you're rounding out the end of your bench. You're not spending money. I'd rather pay a nothing second round pick, $2 million compared to having to pay Kyle Korver's salary when you're not going to make the playoffs anyway. So you may as well take a few bites at the apple. Maybe you hit on the next Malcolm Brogdon or someone like that. If you get 3 second round picks and you hit on one of them, you're still in much better shape than you would have been otherwise.
Might as well have just announced to your fan base with this trade that we're just tanking. We're just going to continue to tank right now. We're not even going to walk into next season with a positive attitude. We're just going to assume that we're shooting for that lottery pick there. All right, well, I say the Jazz gets the better end of the deal. Steve here says that the Grizzlies get the better end of the deal. You guys tell us. Number 3 here. How about this one? In the wake of bunting practice, our man Max Scherzer fouls the ball off into his face, breaks his nose. Now, listen, he pitched a great game the day after, and kudos to Scherzer for doing that. But my Lord, man, the debate continues here in the National League. DH or no DH? Do we want our pitchers getting hurt in bunting practice? Or do we want to go the way of the AL and start giving these 38-year-old sluggers a second chance at a baseball career by getting to slug it out as a DH? Which side are you on, Steve?
The National League should not add the designated hitter. I think it's going to happen, and it hurts me just to think about it. And this, baseball is a game more than any other sport.
Go ahead. Talk about the purity of the NLDH not happening. Go ahead.
This is a game that values its history more than any other, and baseball is a game played with 9 players. 9 players play the field, and 9 players bat. And they should all be the same player. The designated hitter is just a made-up nonsense. There's no good reason why pitchers cannot hit. And that's my first point. My second point is the pitchers could hit if they would just put some time and effort into it. I mean, they only work once a week, maybe twice a week, even when you throw in side sessions, they're still part-time employees. You're telling me they can't spend more time in the batting cage or take bunting practice more seriously? Because if Scherzer hadn't been messing around, he wouldn't have broken his nose in the first place if he had actually treated it like work and not like he was, in the batting cage drinking beers with his buddies on the weekend. And if pitchers don't want to take it seriously and they don't want to try at the plate, then that's a competitive advantage for the guys like Madison Bumgarner and Adam Wainwright, who do try to hit and take pride in it and actually add value to their teams. So you're taking that advantage away from them. And for what reason? Because the third reason the NL doesn't need the designated hitter is the designated hitter has outlived its usefulness. The whole point of it was so that aging sluggers can extend their careers and hit a few more home runs and bring some more fans out to the game. But nowadays, teams would rather replace those guys with young players who are cost controlled for 800 years rather than paying a veteran. Even the veteran's minimum is more money than the rookies are going to make. So those guys aren't lasting in the game even with the designated hitter. And now a lot of the sluggers that should be benefiting from the designated hitter aren't any good anyway. I'd rather watch Madison Bumgarner hit than Albert Pujols or Miguel Cabrera. Those guys need to go away anyway. What's the point of watching them strike out every other at bat and maybe limp their way to 20 home runs a year? Just let the pitcher hit. At least then you get some more strategy.
Stunned.
You just know I'm right.
No. No, sirree. All right, well, here we go. Number 1, and because this counters one of your points. Let's talk about the fact that we have specialists for everything now. We've got openers, we've got closers, we've got loogies and roogies, lefty one out guys, righty one out guys. We've got specialists for everything. Okay, we've got top of the order speed specialists, we've got sluggers versus table setters. Okay, with all of these, why do we have to take a guy who's already doing something so incredibly unnatural, like throwing a 98-mile-an-hour fastball or destroying his elbow and his arm trying to throw a slider or a curve? Like, we're paying these guys millions of dollars to pitch. We're not paying them millions of dollars to hit. We're already paying hitters to do that. Okay, it's a very select group that can actually get out there on the mound and actually throw a competitive game like that. So if we've got specialists for everything else right now, why can't we just leave the pitchers doing what they do best, and that is pitch a game? Like that's it. Point number two. Let's talk about the injuries here. I've seen Scherzer now, break his nose. Did you ever watch Randy Johnson up at bat? Like that was a joke. That was a horror show, dude. He was so uncoordinated with swinging a bat. Why? Because his focus is supposed to be on his pitching. So you're talking about, and how about Chin-Ming Wong for the Yankees when he broke, when he fractured a bone in his foot running the bases. I don't need these guys to get hurt running the bases or sitting there trying to bunt or working out at batting practice. Even they don't need it. We paid them too much money to do the job that I don't need them getting hurt elsewhere. And then number two, can we talk about the dead spot in the lineup for having the pitcher there? I mean, that's ridiculous. That it's such a rally killer for any team. That the pitcher comes up there. Now you're also talking about increased strikeout rates for National League pitchers because the pitchers it's a joke spot. And you know what? For the same token, so is the number 8 hitter. Because when is the number 8 hitter ever going to see a legit pitch to hit, knowing when the pitcher knows that the next guy up is going to be some chucklehead pitcher who can't swing a bat? So now all of a sudden you got 9 guys in the field, but you really only have 7 up at bat, maybe 8 if that 8-hole guy can actually do something with it. So, you have the DH instead of the pitcher. There's 9 batters, 9 fielders there, because you don't have 9 batters when you've got a pitcher in that lineup, Steve.
The last thing we need in baseball right now is more offense. I mean, everyone's hitting home runs. The shortest, smallest, scrawniest guy in the league is still going to hit 20 home runs this year. So why do we really need something else to benefit offenses?
That's what sells. That's what sells, dude. Come on. What does the whole millennial generation want? They want bat flips. They want these guys to show off the bravado and their emotion and blah, 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 blah. So if that's what everybody wants, let's give it to them. If I have to sit there and look at some nauseating bat flip in the second inning because some punk thinks that he's going to show up the pitcher there, if I have to sit silent and accept the fact that he's going to sit there and pimp his useless home run, okay, that's evolution of the game, and I'm supposed to evolve to that. Well, guess what? The game is always evolving, and pitchers shouldn't be hitting. We're taking a step back. We're going backwards here by letting the pitchers hit. We're not moving forward.
If the designated hitter was in both leagues, we would have deprived ourselves of the greatest regular season moment of probably my entire lifetime, which was big fat Bartolo Colon hitting a home run at 41 years old as a Met.
That was a sad commentary on pitching. That wasn't a big event.
Oh, come on. That was awesome. I mean, when that shows up in your Twitter timeline every year, if you don't laugh out loud, you don't have a soul. That was awesome. And things like that don't happen when in the American League because the designated hitter is expected to hit home runs. But every time, a pitcher hits a bases clearing double or hits a home run or whatever it is, that's noteworthy. And you don't get that if you don't let the pitcher hit.
How noteworthy is it? Steve, can you tell me the last pitcher to clear the bases? Got up with the bases loaded and he cleared the bases with a double.
Kyle Hendricks did it at least once this year, and it was pretty cool.
I think you were going to throw that name out at me. Look at you.
Because it stuck out in my memory. You're watching the game and you think, oh, well, this, like you said, this rally's dead because the pitcher's coming up. And then when the pitcher actually does something good, it's pretty memorable.
What's the highest batting average for a pitcher right now? Do we know this number?
I don't, but I'm going to guess it's probably Madison Bumgarner. It's probably like 230.
Let me see. Let's see. Let's go to the batting leaders here, and let's talk about forget qualified. All right. The highest batting average for a legit pitcher here. How many plate appearances do we want to say is the minimum?
Well, pitchers don't bat a whole lot, but probably 30, 40.
All right. So let's do 30 minimum here. Wow, look at that. Brandon Woodruff batting 364.
Wow.
Zach Greinke's got 2 home runs? This is the weirdest thing ever. See? I still don't buy it. No,
you just proved my point.
No, because Zach Greinke would be pitching a lot better if he wasn't doing that.
Zach Greinke's thrown shutouts in his last 2 outings. I think he's just fine.
All right, Steve, I'll tell you what. I'll concede this last point to you if you can tell me right now how many home runs have been hit by pitchers this year.
14.
14 is your answer? Let me see. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. Wow. Wow. Did you know that for a fact?
No, I'm just good. When you're good, you're good.
All right, name them. All right, listen, you know what? I'll concede that last point to Steve for pulling out 14 home runs by pitchers this season. Greinke with a pair, Syndergaard with a pair, Wheeler, DeGrom, Mets. All these Mets pitchers hitting home runs. Mad Bum, Taylor Clark, Yoelis Chacin, Aaron Wilkerson, Tanner Rourke, Luke Weaver, and Walker Buehler for a total of 14 home runs. I've got to concede that point to my man, Steve Pimentel. The rest of it, guys, dial us up here at Fantasy Alarm, at Steve's Fantasy AD, at Roto Buzz Guy. Steve, any final thoughts here? Other than that was the most impressive guess I've ever seen.
I'm just going to bask in the glory of my victory and you know, let my the results do the talking for me.
Double or nothing on the number of stolen bases stolen by a pitcher.
3.
Damn close, man. It was 4. I better get out of here before Steve shows me up anymore. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. For Steve Pimentel, for my producer, John Mpemba, big thanks to all of you for watching. This has been 3 Point Play. This has been Fantasy Alarm TV. I'm Howard Bender, and we'll catch you next time.